Oof. Still recovering from not just the match,
but the fallout.
Virat Kohli's press conference. Unfortunately, the ugly side of sports fans when Arshdeep was name called.
Let's be very clear, there's no room for any sort of behavior like that.
Yes.
I don't care how big a fan you may be, nothing gives anyone the right.
And unfortunately, yesterday I saw some names, even among our family members, who had done it. And I am very sorry, folks. Unacceptable if that is.
Name calling isn't cool. Look, at the end of the day, we know it's a big match against Pakistan. You don't want to be losing this, that, but win and loss is part of sport. You can't, name call just because of it. And as in fact, Sunil Gavaskar himself pointed out on our TV shows, he's saying that, Arshdeep's drop wasn't the only turning point.
Yes,
you can say that it was a turning point in some ways, but there were plenty of other things that went wrong.
So, right from Rohit Sharma's misjudgment as a captain, we pointed out why no Deepak Hooda when you are bowling the left, when they were left-handers.
The fact that the senior bowlers, let's say, were on the expensive side.
Yes, Bhuvaneshwar Kumar, for example.
Yuzi Chahal.
Hardik Pandya.
Very forgettable day with both bat and
ball. And look at their combined close to 125 runs. 127 runs in 12 overs at an economy rate of over 10.
I think Vodacom is catching on among our family members.
Of course. But that is because...
Hello, right?
Hello. Hello and thank you.
Okay, cool.
So, Nandri is thank you, sorry. Hello and goodbye.
Both. It's basically like namaste.
Namaste, yes. India needs some changes in their playing 11 tomorrow.
I don't see them making changes. I think they need to find the consistency.
The only way, we can't use that word on air, but Ravindra Jadeja's absence has basically thrown 3 positions in a massive conundrum.
Yeah, true.
India, I'll again say it, if Deepak Hooda is not bowling to the left-hander,
or at least not bowling a couple of overs regardless of who. You can use him as a plug in the middle overs. You can.
If you don't bowl him in the middle overs, or if you don't bowl to the left-handers,
especially,
his role in the team is absolutely wasted. What role does Deepak Hooda have if he's not bowling? That is my one concern. So many people are targeting Rohit Sharma 18 out to Bishnoi, but if that catch wasn't resolved, Sahil Pawar again. Yes, that catch was one of the factors. One of it. But you already lost the game in 2 instances. One, you did not bowl an off spinner to the left-handers when they were coming. Second,
particularly Nawaz.
You did not prepare for Mohammad Nawaz. It was out of the syllabus. There was a template. That is a problem with templates. It's sometimes you see something in front of you, but what is in side of you, you just don't understand.
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, you have to sometimes adjust on the fly. And Kajal Kumari, to answer your question, Rahul will be joining us soon.
Yes.
With the Asia Cup going on, where the team is, having to take up a lot of other, Aman Khandwe is asking a very interesting question, and what it is that we're here
Thoughts on Virat's statement.
Thoughts on Virat's statement.
That is where we are coming to.
And let's give you guys a bit of a lowdown. Obviously, what happens when we are working, and obviously we're talking to you guys. The fact of the matter is we're still keeping a tab on whatever it is happening. Now, as it happened, it was just our luck. Otherwise, I think we would have only gotten to know everything once we went upstairs to our office cubicles. We had the, host broadcasters on because we were watching the match in the studio. We joined you early. Now, the thing was, we didn't know that they would be telecasting the PC one. Then we saw Kohli, then we're like, wait, okay, Kohli there in the PC, very, very interesting.
Well,
and then what, when let's say, waste really hit the proverbial fan, and I'm using a different word here because I can't use that word.
Can't use that word.
Is that when the waste hit the fan was when we started seeing the some short captions down there when he's like, only Dhoni. I'm like, wait, what? And then we went upstairs and heard it, and it's like, oh man. You know what is the first thought that crossed my mind? Blasphemy alert for all fans. I thought Kohli is announcing his retirement. No, I didn't think that was the case.
My first gut instinct and my stomach started to churn. Oh God, why is Virat Kohli addressing the post-match press conference? Because if you've gone out on the field and if you've covered Indian cricket during Virat Kohli's tenure, he would come out and give the post-match presser only if there was something massive. Classic 2017 Dharamshala. Australia series, it was on a knife edge. He came out on the final day and he gave the post-match presser.
Pre-match, you mean?
Post-match, when they had won.
When they had won. Huh?
When they had won. Centurion, when they had lost, series was gone, he came in.
Yeah. And generally speaking, and this is also a bit of a trend, Kohli, even as a captain, wouldn't address press conferences often. But when they did happen, dear God, you could be prepared for some confrontational things to be happening.
2019, before the World Cup, when Australia series happened, the final ODI in Delhi, he did address the press conference. I'm like, okay, what new is he going to drop this time? What is the new bomb that he's going to drop? Yesterday, he dropped an MS Dhoni bombshell, and the first major crux of that is the only person, the first major quote, and that is the only talking point in that. The only person who texted me after the test captaincy was taken away from me, it was MS Dhoni.
Also, and I you know, I've seen a lot of people, I've seen a lot of comments from certain fans where they've said, you know, and this is the thing when it comes to, obviously, you know, when quotes are shared on places like social media and obviously on media in general, traditional media as well, is that you don't often get to see the full side of what was there. A lot of people are saying, you know, oh, why did he have to say this now?
Yeah.
What was the point? So, we had watched the entire, press conference, and the fact is, he was asked a very, he was asked a pretty long question, and he was asked by someone who we're familiar with. Let's not take names, but with the question that was asked, and I'll give you this lowdown. The major question that was asked was, you know, that a lot of people have said this on television that, you know, they can improve your form, or that you shouldn't be criticized too much, and this, that. So there was a lot of questions asked on the backdrop, which is why Kohli actually addressed that. It wasn't like he had planned to come there and drop that bombshell, but a question was asked in a very nice way, clearly pushed a few buttons, and what we saw was the result. But my
only criticism of Virat Kohli is, why now? Why did he have to answer it now, especially considering the fact, two things. Number one, India had lost to Pakistan. Now the format of the Asia Cup is such that one loss can potentially throw you out of the finals contention.
Absolutely. Even if you win the next two matches, if they're close, then your net run rate might just knock you out.
It's not a guarantee. Yeah. And second, you knew that Indian fans are going to bay for blood. Most fans would bay for India's blood because they had lost. And King D, just go up a bit. Just go up a bit. Slightly up. There was a question by somebody up. I missed that question. It was all in yes. King D.
Yeah, let's not take that.
Let's not take that, King D. I will tell you why. It is not just whatever you are mentioning. Every Indian player is under pressure to perform. Let us just evolve out of that mindset that, oh, only some players are under pressure to perform. No, every player, be it against any nation, is under pressure to perform. So, in this backdrop, why did Virat Kohli have to answer that? He could have very well said, can we move on to the next question? He has deflected things in the past.
Yeah, but maybe now he doesn't feel the need, two reasons. One, maybe now he doesn't feel the need to deflect anything or, let's say, play nice, given he's not really the team leader anymore, even though he is part of the leadership group. We know for a fact the kind of stature, tenure he has, he would be part of the leadership group, but he's no longer the captain. It's no longer his team. Second, and this is something that I agree that, we'll take that once I'm done making this point, is that, the only thing which I can think of is that maybe he figured that him dropping this kind of a bombshell would actually prove like something of a smoke screen. Because look at it this way, it's one day later, none of us are really talking about the match. We're more concerned with what he said.
No one is talking about us because two smokescreen bombs have been dropped.
Yeah, one by Kohli and one by
Arshdeep's. Unfortunate whatever has happened. The targeting of Arshdeep. Roy, do you think Elgar is joining Wade, Smith and Van der Merwe? Plus, please with Rahul sir discuss playing two pace all-rounders in Oz and Venki was backup.
Yeah, we'll take that one when we can.
I didn't understand the first part, Roy SP. Dean Elgar, what is he doing? Wade, Smith and Van der Merwe. Van der Merwe, I mean Roelof Van der Merwe.
I'm guessing that's the only Van der Merwe I remember playing.
Yeah. I know there's a Peter Van der Merwe, but he's different. Okay.
I just, extend on that a little bit. But yeah, thanks for the question.
Okay, so Saikot Chatterjee, I'm a big fan of King Kohli. Just give some update. Kohli, I think it's probably pertaining to the fact that, folks, yesterday Virat Kohli was not there on the field for a certain period of time. Perhaps he was cramping.
Yeah, I mean, cramping in the kind of temperature that has been over there, I can totally understand if he was cramping. Although, considering he was in good spirits while addressing the press conference, I don't think he's injured. I think he was just cramped up and they just kept him off the field because, well, obviously they can do that. So,
Harish Madhisetti is saying, UZ performance needs to be discussed. Giving away runs and not taking wickets. Bishnoi was good compared to him. Better to include Ashwin. Okay.
That last part is very debatable. Very debatable. Better to include Ashwin based on what?
Look, better to include Ashwin in place of Huda. I agree with that.
But in place of UZ?
UZ Chahal.
Chance.
Okay, look. I'll just give two examples in this, two contexts. Supposing Yajwendra Chahal does not have a good Asia Cup, plus the 6 T20Is against Australia and South Africa. He's still making it to the squad of 15. But if Bishnoi's performance at the same time starts an upward trend, then UZ Chahal is not an automatic starter in that playing 11. Because again, I've heard many stats, I've read many stats where it says UZ does not do well in the Sena countries. So, well, Sena, one of them is Australia. So
yeah, but I think, considering and honestly, considering the kind of chaos we went through last year with UZ being dropped in the last minute, I think this year, for the sake of actually going the opposite route, even if his form isn't that good going into the World Cup, I think you stick with him for at least the first 2 group matches.
Yes.
Because I don't think the Indian bowling is reliant on him solely. There are wicket takers there. We could very well have a Jasprit Bumrah back by the time the World Cup rolls around. And I don't think you're going to be that reliant on UZ only to get you, because of course his form will be a concern. No two ways about that. But I think you need to stick with him a little longer, because I think this is the first time in a while I've seen him slump.
Yes.
Really, if you think about it.
And Harish, let me just tell you, Bishnoi, if we have to nitpick 3 wides in that over, I think that also played a role.
True.
That also played a role, because look, as a spinner, no balls and wides, I can understand if you're trying to loop the ball or flight the ball, you can miss the lengths. But
they were targeting going slightly wide to try and get the batsman to play a shot outside. But the problem was, at times they were so wide that the batsman didn't need to bother playing a shot.
And one more crucial factor, that wides took some more time, and Ruchira Paliuruge's third umpiring blunder also did not help. And that is why India, who were already short of time, they ran out of time, and that's why you had to get 5 fielders in. That 3 wides did play some factor in it, and that's why Bishnoi has to buck up, because against a bigger opponent, against a bigger tournament, it will hurt him big time.
2 questions I want to take. One is from Davis Cricket. Do you think we lack a fast bowler contest? Look,
we have Bumrah.
You have Bumrah who can hit those speeds, and secondly, speed isn't everything. Speed isn't everything. We saw it with Umran. People clamored to see him in the national setup, and then when it came down to it, he struggled at international level because, respectfully speaking, the IPL and international cricket are 2 very different beasts altogether.
Yes.
So
now it was Peter and Herbert Wade plus Graham, the South Africa won Test series in South Africa, plus Surya Peter van der Merwe and Herbert Wade. Okay.
Now I get it.
Plus Graham. Then you have to give the full names, right?
Exactly. If you say Peter van der Merwe, I'm going to think of Ruloff. I thought of Matty Wade.
Yeah.
And Smith, I thought of Steve Smith. And I'm like, ooh.
The SA captains who won Test series in England, you mean, Roy?
For SA in England.
Yes,
correct.
Yes. Plus Surya against Park, 3 matches in less than a year.
Yeah, it is impacting, and I'm seeing a lot of people bring it up that Surya doesn't perform in big games. Have we already forgotten the 100 he scored against England?
Yep.
Public memory is often short. I mean, we can't be questioning that. And first off, how many big matches has he even played?
Yep.
People treat him as like a stalwart, and to be fair, I understand it. He's 31 years old, I think.
Yes.
But the fact is, his international career is young.
Yeah.
He's very young. I mean, he took him 5-6 years of consistent IPL performances to actually break into the national team. Yeah. It's not that easy playing international cricket, boss.
Nitesh Jain is asking, why did Virat come up easy? Why not Rohit after loss? Its captain's response is going to be seen. No.
They have to send either one player or a coach.
Nitesh, the drill is, if suppose prior to the start of the tournament, suppose it's a big game, first game in the tournament, the captain would want to come.
But after that, you're sending other players.
You can send-
Did Babar go yesterday after the PC? No.
No.
It was Rizwan who went.
It was Rizwan. It is not necessary that only the captain has to come out. If it's a semi-final or a final, then probably yes.
And remember also, sometimes even when coaches come, it's not necessarily just the head coach. Na?
Yeah.
It can be one of the
Batting
coaching
coach,
staff members, the
yeah.
batting coach,
Paras
bowling
Mamre
coach,
can
fielding
come,
coach.
yeah.
Someone can come. Even if it's a team mentor, they can also turn up. Yeah? No big deal.
Yep. It was...
It was actually Mohammad Nawaz, not Rizwan, I'm sorry.
Yeah, sorry, it was Mohammad Nawaz. So that is why...
Prashant Sharma asked, do you have updates on Natarajan and Sakaria? What updates? Neither of them are
See,
going to be in the scheme of things.
T. Natarajan and Chetan Sakaria, unfortunately, Prashant, they are not making that trip.
Natarajan was because I think, in fact, if you remember, when India were looking for a left-arm seamer, Natarajan and white ball cricket was the preferred choice because he could nail those Yorkers. Recent times, his fitness has let him down.
Knee
That's
injury.
the problem. A lot of knee injuries.
Yes.
Yeah. And Chetan Sakaria has been nowhere near the national setup.
I mean, he did play in that series in Sri Lanka, but too raw. Why would you want to draft him directly?
That Sri Lanka series was a reserve team.
Yeah.
Let's be very fair.
So that is why you wouldn't. Will Huda play tomorrow or Aksar Saeed Irfan? Man,
Wait, that's a very good question.
I hate predicting India's teams because they are so unpredictable. I had said Huda will not play in the Asia Cup because I see no position from him. I don't see any position. And if you do not bowl him, his utility is wasted.
And two people, Sagar Singhal and just scroll up slightly, AJ Iskon are pointing out that Kohli was not actually taking shots at current players. We know that.
Yeah.
No one is. There's no talk of a problem with him and Rohit anymore.
Yep.
I don't think that's the case. If they had any problems, also I think publicly now they seem pretty chill. So I don't think he was criticizing current players, but you're right. Former players, he definitely aimed his gun at.
There was a simple thing. Virat was under a slump for 3 years. Okay?
2 years bhi maan lo to it's okay.
Yeah, I mean, now in November 2022, he will next play a major game. After the World T20, he will next play, he has another period. So 3 years, November to 2019 was the last. And ever since COVID, he has not scored a single international century anywhere.
Correct.
Now the problem is, we people, so many former cricketers, so many armchair experts, 1.4 billion Indians were giving advice as to what Virat Kohli has to do. That probably has weighed him down a lot more. Look, Virat Kohli gave a very, very clear indication. Boss, okay, if you needed my help, if I want to help someone, I will not shout out to the world, I will not shout from the rooftops, okay, with 600 or 800 people or 1000 people here, okay, Shane, I will help you, okay, you want anything, come to me. Virat doesn't want that. I call you, say in the comfort of a room or anywhere, and then say, Shane, I know that you're in trouble, I'm ready to help you out, please come. For Virat, that is genuine. Because he said, neither he nor me, we stand to lose anything with that. That is the thing that he really, really values, genuinity. And Virat is someone who plays with that same genuine aggression. It is not put, and he did admit, he's been on a mental health cleanup spree, I will say. Look at the interview that he did with the host broadcasters prior to the start of the Asia Cup. He is very, very clear that break, that's where I'm coming to the second point, that break of 1 month wherein he did not even touch the bat for the first time in 10 years, that now is an indication that he's wanting to enjoy the game.
And it actually looks to have worked because, I know he started, remember he started scratchy against Pakistan in the first game. But in recent games, he's starting to find more of his rhythm. And dare I say, the knock he played yesterday against Pakistan was the most in control he's looked in a while.
In control, he's looked in a while. Yes, Virat Kohli.
I'm not saying he's back to his best or anything.
The six that he hit to get to his 50 was vintage Virat.
Vintage Virat.
And peak Virat, looking at, people will say, but he scored only at a strike rate of 136.
But he always scored at strike rates of that, man.
Peak Virat, even at that zenith, 135 was a strike rate. But there is still an issue. I'll say that issue, and it was pointed even then. Last 5 overs, 46 runs. 4.4, take out those 2 fours because the Pakistan misfielded. 38 runs. Just under 9. For the death overs, is that applicable? No. Virat, I think, struggled to raise his gear. That is one major issue. But that was also compounded
by the
we
fact
lost
that
wickets.
you lost, and not just wickets, you lost the main people who are expected to be playing that role at that point. If you had a Surya there, would have been a different story. You had a Hardik there next to him, would have been a very different story.
Yep.
If you had a Pant there who was able to knock it out of the park, would have been a different story. Hell, if Deepak Hooda was actually able to bat in a less scratchy manner, then I think, he too would have in fact been able to, get those big hits.
Yep.
Deepak Hooda's entire USP, why people get excited by him, because he was someone who couldn't tongue the ball. He was not able to do that yesterday.
He was not able to do that. And Abhay Pratap, when will you defend Pant? Who's defending
Who's defending Pant?
Who is defending him? Abhay Pratap Singh. You are
criticizing-
calling for, I remember one of your other comments where you said you have to drop Arshdeep also.
And first, Arshdeep and Bishnoi being people calling for that drop happening makes no sense, because they were two of your best bowlers yesterday. Also, defend Pant. We've been criticizing him since last night.
Look, this whole thing of defending a player or criticizing a player, there's a very fine line. Why should we defend or criticize a player? We'll defend a player if it's statistically or factually it's there. We'll criticize a player if it's statistically or factually there.
Correct.
Fact. Rohit Sharma did not bowl a off spinner when there were left-handers on strike. That's a fact. That can also be a criticism, and it's a point.
Also, that's one reason why, if you're looking at team changes for tomorrow, correct me if I'm wrong, but Sri Lanka have also at least 2 or 3 left-handers in the batting lineup. Yes. Bhanuka Rajapaksa being one of them. They're most hard-hitting batsmen.
Bhanuka is your key here. And look, India will have to either get Ashwin in to sort out the Deepak Hooda conundrum.
Or have the gumption to bowl Deepak Hooda. If you want to keep him there as your Jadeja, i.e. someone who can shore up the batting and shore up the bowling, what is the point? How can he shore up the bowling if he doesn't get to bowl?
Yep.
And it's not like they don't see him as that. He was bowling in the nets yesterday.
Yes.
Before the match, when the warm-ups were taking place, he was bowling. The host broadcaster showed it clearly.
Yep. And Abhay Pratap Singh, one more thing. Rishabh Pant, we all lambasted him, and if you check out the video yesterday, we called him an infuriating enigma.
And it's not just now. I mean, we've criticized him in the past as well.
Yes.
I before the tournament was saying I would be playing DK ahead of him in the team. I don't want him in T20 eyes right now, because quite frankly, he's had a long rope. He's continued to remain frustrating in this format. Again, ODIs, I think he turned the corner with that ton against England. And in tests, he's been a match winner since day one. But in T20 eyes, I have question marks over his form, and I don't remember ever defending him in that regard. Yes, I can point out the obvious and say, he's an X-factor player. On his day can win you games single-handedly, but those days haven't come.
Yep.
That's a fact.
It's not come. Pant in T20Is has underwhelmed. And I'm sorry to say that if Pant continues to struggle, he is not an automatic starter in Australia. But you wouldn't want to ignore Pant's record in Australia. But his T20 numbers even there also have been underwhelming.
A record in Australia is in what format also?
Yes. ODIs and tests have been fantastic.
Tests especially have been spectacular.
Yeah, I mean 11 consecutive double-digit scores in Australia. But in T20Is, he played one horrendous shot in Brisbane and India lost the match by 4 runs.
Right.
Simple.
Roy SP says that I'm a big fan of Surya since his match against MI 2014
against KKR.
Against KKR, he means, yeah.
I think so, yeah.
But his World Cup wasn't great against Pak, New Zealand. Then 2 innings against Pak this Cup, 100 was great. Yeah, okay, see, fair enough. I understand that when people say that, there's certain innings where he missed out. Fair. But again, I also say that you have to remember that despite the fact that he's a guaranteed first choice starter right now, what is his big game experience? It's very minimal. The sample size isn't great, and it's not fair to expect everyone to walk into a big pressure situation and just start tonking it from ball one.
Yeah.
Kohli also, it took him at least a couple of years to become, in fact, more than a couple of years. When did he debut? 2008 was it?
He didn't. He really 2011 World Cup. He didn't. But 2013. 2012 and 2013.
Even 2011 World Cup, if you remember. There was a star-studded batting lineup, and he was part of it. He wasn't the star. And are we being joined by Nikhil?
We are being joined by Nikhil. Yes. Hi Nikhil, how's the weather there today?
Weather is hot and gets hotter by the day. Slightly better now. It's slightly better now. In the evening, slightly better. Right behind me, I don't know if you can see. This is the training facility. Sri Lankan training is hard at work. Practicing crucial game tomorrow versus India. In contrast to what the Indian team is doing, they're relaxing today because they just played a game yesterday. So at the moment, the Sri Lankan team hard at work. Dasun Shanaka just finished his press conference. interesting things to say. He was asked about Indian team missing Jadeja, and it clearly showed in that game versus Pakistan. So do you think this is your best opportunity? He said, listen, I'm not going to get swayed by all these things because this Indian team has such experienced guys sitting outside because of the kind of exposure they get in the IPL. So it doesn't matter, Jadeja or the other guys come in and they can step in and play well. He was also asked that, you seldom get a chance to play a full strength Indian team because mostly, if when Sri Lanka comes home, you have a few players resting, or when the Indian team travels, there are a few players resting. So for once, there'll be a full strength Indian team playing the Sri Lankan team. And he said, well, that's out of our control. We play the team that we get. And, I understand that this team is in
Has the Indian fan not evolved whenever it comes to India versus Pakistan?
See, I think I think majority of fans have evolved. It's just a minor few rotten apples we have everywhere. But to be fair, and this is something that we reported because there was a lot of data and number crunching done. You do know that a lot of those social media posts originated out of India, so they didn't really come from India. So that is a fact that we've presented because, and it's not just something that's conjecture. We're just saying it. It's been we have a data team that's looked into it and given us information. It originated from outside, so we're clearly politically motivated. So that's that. We got to take it with a bag full of salt. So that's the first thing. That's not to say that they weren't Indian fans trolling AajTak. Criticism is fair. Yes, it was an important game. We can't even brush that under the carpet. Yes, it was an important chance as well that AajTak let go. Things could have been different. But we also got to ask ourselves a question that fair criticism, I think even if you was to tell this to AajTak, he'll be the first one to put his hand up and he'll accept that criticism. At the end of the day, they're public figures. We spoke to Sunny Gavaskar shortly on a television show. I'm sure it'll be up on Sports Today, so our fans can also hear Sunny Bhai's view. But as I said, players are public figures, they're in public life, they're very well aware of the fact that everything that they do will be scrutinized. So they're open to that. It's just in the manner when you do it. When you say things like that are being said about him, you're actually hitting him below the belt. And that's contrary to what sport teaches us. So completely the opposite. So, and I must tell you, I met so many fans here, both from India and Pakistan. I never saw these sort of emotions. I never saw people cross the line. Yes, there was banter, so it should be a bit of sledging, a bit of leg pulling, and boasting. All that is fine. That's what makes the sport. If you take that out, then there's no fun.
Exactly.
All that is good. But by and large, most fans have known their limits. They've stayed in that, enjoyed the game, indulge in a bit of banter. But then that's what I say about social media. See, I believe in whatever I see. And what do I see? I see real fans in flesh and blood and real fans talking, and I haven't got that kind of an impression. So then comes the question of social media. I don't know. As I said, a lot of it originated outside India, maybe to cause some sort of unrest. So if there is anyone who sees that and then wants to reply or even respond to that, I say don't ignore it because it's best ignored. The other thing is, even if there are a few notorious elements within India who started this or contributed to this, we don't know how many. They could just be a handful. Even a handful, that's the nature of social media. Even a handful of people can generate thousands of tweets because you've got bots, you've got multiple profile, you can put any image that you want. So we don't know. Maybe, so it'd be unfair to say that Indian fan hasn't matured. I think by and large, most fans that I've come across are mature. They understand the game. They understand it's part of cricket. We all play cricket at any level, whether it's gully level, level, mohalla level, club level, whatever, and show me a man who hasn't dropped a catch, right? Anyone who says he's never dropped a catch, he's never played a game of cricket. I can vouch for that. You can bring the best fielder in the world, John T. Rodwell also. So people who understand sport will never criticize him like that. It's people on the periphery, and they, for all you know, as I said, just could be a handful. And then those people are best ignored, because that's exactly what they want. They want their message to be amplified and, you know, being spoken of. Let's not give them attention.
But Nikhil, one more incident totally eclipsed the India versus Pakistan match result, and that was Virat Kohli's press conference. Two things.
Yeah.
One, where was the entire contingent caught by surprise that Virat wanted to do the post-match PC? And second, was it necessary, especially at this point in time, to make the comments that he did? Do you think that was necessary to make it?
Very interesting. So firstly, it's a bit of a surprise that he came to the press conference, but if you notice the trend, they usually send the best performer, after the game, on the day of the game. And for India, it was Virat Kohli, right? So if you look at it that way, then it's not surprising. Clearly, the best performer of the day has come. However, it has happened in the past that a certain number of senior players, and Virat of course included, if they've chosen not to come, they have refused not going to the press conference, even though they may have been the best performer of the day, and sent someone else. So that has happened. So firstly, Virat did give his nod, and he would be the first guy you approach because he was the best performer. He did give his nod. So clearly he wanted to come out and speak, and we heard from him at the start of the tournament to the broadcaster. It's only fair that he comes and speaks to the entire media contingent. So he came. And good question. The question that has caught everyone's attention is where he said that nobody got in touch with him other than MS Dhoni. That was, if you take a look at it, that was a very open-ended question. He was just generally talking about former players, talking about his form and how does he feel and all of that. He needn't have said what he did. I mean, it was entirely up to him. You ask me personally, I loved what he said, and I want to hear that because see, this is the problem that we, because of the position that you are in, or celebrities try and create this filter, and you don't get to see the real self because they have an image to protect, and they will only mind their P's and Q's and only speak a certain way. That's robotic for me. I would like an honest, open individual, and Virat says that in that soundbite. That listen, I'm very honest. So it gives an insight in the kind of person that he is. Clearly, he wanted to say that. What that tells me is that. Firstly, it's an admission from him for the very first time. It's an admission from him that was a low phase. See, till now, he had given up his test captaincy, right? And after that, there was only conjecture and, innuendos, and people, were just estimating whether he's happy, who's responsible, who may have done it. We didn't know for sure, because both parties, whether it was from the BCCI or Virat Kohli, didn't come out openly and say. It was as simple as Virat has decided to give up the captaincy, so be it, move on. Yes, we all debated, discussed, and gave our point of view, but we heard nothing from Virat. We didn't know whether he genuinely just wanted to give up, but now we get to know that, see, the first thing is that was a low phase. I'll get to what he says about MS Dhoni. First thing is a low phase, because that's when he says that he's actually seeing who was by his side at the time. So first thing he tells you was a low phase. What does that tell you? It tells you that it weren't the best circumstances, and maybe he was pushed into a corner where he had to give up his captaincy. Of course, the decision was his, but under normal circumstances, he probably wouldn't have let go of that test captaincy, purely because the team was doing well. He had a great record. He was scoring runs. There was no reason for him to give up the captaincy. Only because he was pushed in a corner, and then he decided, okay, I'm done. Enough is enough. You can keep the captaincy. I'll just concentrate on my batting. So he was pushed to a corner, and now this is a sort of an admission. Then he says, these things matter to me. He says that. I remember, I don't know where, but I remember him in an interview or something where he spoke about this word, and I remember the word was loyalty, and he said loyalty is very important to him. He wants to see that, and clearly he's reinforced that after so many months or years when we last spoke about these things, really making a difference to him. I'd just like to make a distinction, because a lot has been said. Some people are saying that he's even talking about his current teammates, and this whole gossip comes about him not getting along with Rohit, and Rohit also did. I don't think he was talking about any present teammate, because in the same breath he says the atmosphere in the dressing room is amazing. Rohit Sharma has created a great atmosphere, and he was so welcomed back into the dressing room after the break. So that's first. So he wasn't talking about his contemporaries right now. The other bit, a lot of people have said he's spoken about some very former senior players. I don't think even he was going there, because if you read, he says, out of the players that have played with me, only MS Dhoni got in touch. So he's clearly talking about a few players that were his contemporaries who played with him. Also, those who were, on phone with him, as in, and had access to him over the phone. Because some people may talk about some legends of the game in Kapil Dev and Gavaskar. Because I saw a lot of comments come. But see, these people never had that equation with him where they were on a phone with him, either on talking or SMS, because completely different generations, right?
Yes.
He's only talking about folks who he was in regular touch with over the phone, and then he feels that when he went through a low phase, when he had to give up the captaincy, none of those guys who he had been in touch with for a long time ever got in touch with him, and only MS Dhoni did. But they were happy to give their advice, whether it was on social media or whether on television or newspaper, about what he must do, was the break right for him, what is it. He felt hurt about those things. Now, of course, there are two sides to a story. There were clearly certain moments or phases which created a bit of a distance between those players who may have been close to him, who played with him, and not whether it was all their doing or whether Virat played a role in it. Also, we don't know. We'll only know once we get to hear from those players, right? Sometimes it also happens, like, I don't know, me and Sid are great friends, and then Sid goes on to become CEO of Infosys or something like that, and he just stops responding to my SMSs, right? Then what am I going to do? I will, when the day he's sacked as CEO, I'm not going to send him an SMS, because I would realize that he's moved on. He's not really in the same league. He's ignored me for a long time, so he's moved on. But then if he comes back a few months later and says that, listen, when I was sacked, you never got in touch with him, then am I entirely to be blamed? Maybe not, right? Because he created that distance. So I don't know whether, who's responsible, whether those distances were created, whether there was any sort of friction with these players. So they will, as I said, we'll only get to know when some of those players speak, and there are always two sides to a story. But he clearly felt hurt. He expected some of them to have gotten in touch with him and offered their support. And what's interesting, he talks about insecurities there. He said, why me and Dhoni share a great relationship? Because there's no insecurity. I don't expect anything out of him. He doesn't expect anything out of me. So I'm just extrapolating that to what he is talking about, those other guys who didn't get in touch with him. Maybe there were some expectations which he may have not lived up to, or they had certain expectations out of him. But he says you needn't have any expectation. In friendship, you just drop in a message without thinking much. So again, and he says these things matter to him. So that's how I take it. It was very interesting. If you ask me, people might say wrong timing in the middle of the. I want to hear this. Yeah, I want my players to be human, to speak their minds and their hearts out. I want to hear that as a fan of the game, as an admirer of cricket, admirer of Indian cricketers. I want to see, and this is something that I've been saying for some time now, even in that interview we did with the broadcaster, and I pointed out, we're seeing a human side of him. We kept thinking that he's Superman, he is not made out of flesh and blood, he has no emotions, he's just so driven like a robot to perform at the best level, but you're getting to see a human side of him, and I like that. And I spent 5-7 minutes, not too long, chatting up with him, and we didn't talk anything cricket. It was just completely off. And I did see that human side to him, which probably the few other meetings that I had with him, again, very brief ones. I can't claim to be someone who knows him, not at all. Those chance 5-minute meetings mean nothing actually in the larger scheme of things, but you try and gauge the person. I think he has changed a lot from what he was at that time, and I like this version of Virat more, a more human. As he says, he's realized, or maybe, so I relate to him, maybe he's realized there's more to life than just cricket. And sometime in our lives, we also realize there's more to life than our profession. His profession is cricket, yours and mine is journalism. For somebody else, it could be, whatever, software engineering or whatever else they're working in, teachers, today's Teachers Day, so teachers or whatever they are. Once you reach that stage, I like this version. He's really matured. Maybe fatherhood does that to him. Shane can't comment on that. Maybe me and Sid can.
Yes. Yes, when you become a father, perspectives do change. Yep. And Nikhil, if you have to looking at the match that is there tomorrow, one loss and India are potentially out of the reckoning in the Asia Cup. Do you think they are going to make any changes tomorrow, or do you think they'll persist with the same team? If they persist with the same team,
Yeah, I would want to make changes. I'll tell you what. Changes because you cannot go into a game with 5 bowlers. Yes, they went in with the 6 bowling option of Deepak Huda, but clearly if you didn't give him the ball, you don't have a lot of faith in him.
Exactly.
Because there was a chance, and it wasn't that all 5 bowlers were doing well. Hardik wasn't having a good day.
Yes.
You had a left-hander on crease who was on fire in Nawaz. If there was any point in the game where you could have tested an off spinner, it was against him. You didn't go to him, which is fair. I mean, I'm not here to judge anyone. The captain knows better. He's looking. Maybe he doesn't have that kind of faith in Deepak Huda, the bowler. But then that begs the question: why play him? If you're not going to bowl him, and might as well then gone with a Dinesh Karthik, right? An out-and-out batsman would have given you those kind of runs there. That could have been an option if you're not going to use him as a bowler. I would rather want the 6th bowling option, and in which case I think because Akshar just landed a few hours before the game, they didn't want to risk him. Now I think he would walk in, because if you want the balance, then you get him in that team. Or the other way of looking at it is that you get Dinesh Karthik instead of Rishabh Pant, and then get an Ashwin as a bowler. So you make 2 changes in all, and Ashwin is a out-and-out bowler. Or maybe if Avesh is fit, then he comes back. And then keep Bishnoi and not bring in Ashwin. So that's what I'm saying. 6 bowlers is what I would like them to go in, whichever way they want to go about it, whether Akshar comes in or however. 6 bowlers is what India needs. And I think Pant didn't make use of that chances. And let's not be too stuck up about having a left-hander. You could do very well even with a right-hander. So I think you may do well to look at a Dinesh Karthik. So a couple of changes you'd have to make, I think.
Yes, because even in the Sri Lankan batting lineup, you have a couple of left-handers.
One of whom is actually in half-decent form, Bhanuka.
Yes, Bhanuka Rajapaksa. And even there, look, an off-spinner, if he comes in, at least he can ensure that the left-hander struggles. But if you don't play Deepak Huda as a bowler, his role is wasted. He's not going to come up the order. And Pant, honestly, well, he played like a right-hander when he was actually a left-hander. That's a very strange thing with Rishabh Pant. So, Nikhil, what do you think heading into this match, India-Sri Lanka? Sri Lanka are just about peaking at the right time. India, do you still think there are issues with them when it comes to team composition? Or do you think after the Asia Cup, when Bumrah is hopefully back, when Harshal is hopefully back, do you think all those team composition issues get thrown back into the background?
Yeah, see, actually, forget even Bumrah or Harshal. Of course, they come back. Rahul Dravid made it very clear that they are going to come back. But even a Jadeja going out has made a massive difference.
True.
I know there is news doing the round. He may not be available for the T20 World Cup, but the Indian team hasn't given up on him, so he may still make it. We'll wait on that. But I think till about 1 loss, and we shouldn't get into panic mode. Effectively, India won the 2 games. 1 loss, yes, it came against Pakistan. Also, Hardik didn't have a great day, so I think that also upset India's combination. I think by and large, this is the squad they'll go in. Of course, when Bumrah comes in, your death bowling is sorted. Harshal, I think, also will come into the team. So overall, I think your bowling will be sorted. Usually, Chahal's form is a bit of a concern. We thought that he'd be the standout bowler, the X factor. That hasn't happened. The other thing that has started happening now is that there is dew. So there is dew, which I saw in the game yesterday. There was dew in the game yesterday, so that will be crucial. Now tosses will become important, and so that's not ideal because if you were to look at man on man, you'd say India favourite in both Afghanistan Sri Lanka game. But if toss comes into the equation, then it becomes 50-50 anybody's game. So last game there was a bit of dew. I'm not justifying. That's why Arshdeep dropped a catch, but there was dew. A lot of wides that you saw because there was dew. So these things will come into play. Batting looked very easy. You were seeing, Mohammad Nawaz time it so well simply because the ball was really coming well onto the bat. So batting second is going to become very advantageous as the tournament progresses. So that will be crucial. But man to man, if you ask me, India favourite in both games, they should win it. However, if the toss wins and India batting first just becomes 50-50 even before the first ball is bowled.
Oh boy, so you heard it for folks from Nikhil that there is dew starting to come in now and the nature of the tournament changes as if that happens.
Now it's again the back to win toss win match.
Oh man, it's happened in the 2021 World T20. It's happening now, even in the 2022.
Still
Asia
not
Cup.
as bad.
Yeah.
Still not as bad as what we saw at the T20 World Cup last time. Yesterday's game was the first time, but I did see Indian players with towel and rubbing the ball after every few deliveries. So yeah, there were signs that it's back.
Okay, so that is that big update. So tomorrow, win, toss, and bowl becomes even more important then.
Yeah, absolutely.
And Sri Lanka will be hoping that happens because
they've chased two. In fact, they've chased down very well in both matches.
184 and 176. Correct. So it's going to be very, very important. So thank you so much, Nikhil, for all the updates that you've given us from Dubai, and we will join you tomorrow. And have you had time to go around in Dubai today? Are you planning to, or no? Lot of work.
I thought today would be an easy day, but since morning, because of the Arshdeep news
thing,
and Virat Kohli, we've been non-stop on television and digital in Hindi also. Usually they do one show. Today they did two on 82, and there was lives. So yeah, it's been just non-stop. Television has done a lot of lives today. So I may finish a bit early today, but I don't know whether I'll have the energy to go. I mean, there will be time, but I don't know if I have the energy or not to
Absolutely. See you tomorrow, Nikhil. And folks, Nikhil will be there. Bye. So Nikhil will be giving us all the lowdowns. And today, one major factor people. Dew.
It's back.
That changes the entire equation.
That dreaded D word is back.
That dreaded D word is back indeed. So that was very, very insightful.
That actually does explain a lot why suddenly chasing has become even easier. Remember in the early parts of the tournament, there wasn't that much dew. But now suddenly with dew coming back, oh boy.
Yep.
We have another super chat, by the way.
That is why Nikhil's inputs give you a total perspective as to what happened. Why Virat said it. He's given the backdrop and a lot. No, gentlemen, Surya was in KKR in 2014.
Right, actually, 2015-16 was when he joined.
He joined the Mumbai Indians. I have a feeling that the day we are left arm paces, the opposition punt will open.
Oh man, no, I don't see that happening. I think they'll just work on those issues. I hope they do. Didn't we have one super chat which we missed during this thing?
I think no, it was about Jignesh Patel who was...
No, let's not even take that.
Let's not take that, yeah. So...
Jignesh Patel,
again...
Disagree.
Totally disagree with that. We can't take it because look, what is chaos? Chaos is suddenly you say, oh, I'm not going to play. I am not going to do this. I'm not going to do that in the middle of a crunch situation. That is chaos. I don't think Virat does that. And no one intentionally sows chaos. Chaos is by its own nature. It just comes on. Will a loss in the Asia Cup be good for the World T20 Championship? And the team's chances?
The latter. Because you always want to be in winning form going into a big tournament, and nothing quite like going into the biggest tournament, the biggest like the World Cup, then by winning the Continental Cup, right?
But again, Pradeep Shivalsan and again Shane. Conditions.
No, I get that, but momentum. Winning momentum.
Not necessary. 2016, where was the Asia Cup held? Bangladesh. Similar conditions to India almost.
Yeah.
But 2016 World T20, what happened?
Lost out in the semis.
You lost out in the semi-finals. Momentum is like when Virat Kohli, take it from his own quotes here. He said, you cannot apply a certain template while playing in major event tournaments. You have to play smart cricket.
Also, lest we forget, remember last year Australia were not looking that good going into the World Cup.
But they played smart cricket in every single game barring England. Yeah. Because their plan against England went for a toss because they all attacked from the word go.
Exactly.
England's template at that time was just go for it. But we are now seeing the side effects of it. What's happening? If it comes out, it is spectacular.
But if it doesn't, you're all falling like a house of cards.
It is foolish. That's the thing.
I think we can take one more question.
One more question. Anchal Rai is saying Chahal was clueless. What was Rahul Cherry? He played in game in World T20 at 0 after that. What's your opinion?
Yeah, I don't think his chances were helped by the fact that he was pretty ordinary IPL thereafter as well.
Yeah.
Remember, he was picked for big bucks by the Punjab Kings, the place where most careers go to die.
And Devol Brevis ensured that his career was stagnant with that onslaught.
Devol Brevis, yeah.
Devol Brevis. So
in that regard, yeah, I don't think, see, obviously, it's harsh, but the simple fact of the matter is, India talent is at a premium.
Yep.
So you have loads of people competing for about 11 spots. So,
yes.
I mean, in that sense, yeah.
Anyway, figuring out the Indian cricket team playing 11, what it will be, is much more complicated than having a game of chess. Simple.
Yeah.
And even I think there is hey, stop somewhere, stop somewhere. I think just go up a bit. Go up slightly.
Oh wait, let's end
Vignesh Konar has given a football example.
Yeah, and that's correct. But that's again, those were, in fact, the German football he refers to as Mesut Ozil. No, but not just him, even Ilkay Gundogan has been targeted.
Yep.
So anyway, last question of the day I'll take from Anime Fan, where he says that Kohli scored 59 of 44 versus Hong Kong, 60 of 44 against Park. He cannot score quicker than this. Needs to take few more risks and not look for runs. Yeah, if he took risks yesterday, you'd have been scoring 160. Him batting there and actually sticking through the innings, I agree he couldn't shift through the gears in the later part, but circumstances also matter. I don't think, I'm sorry, again, if I want Kohli in the team, I don't want him scoring at 150 because he's never been able to do it.
Anime Fan, he's had very few instances where he scored 150, 160 plus.
Exactly. So
with Kohli, as I said, 135 was his strike rate.
Yeah, and honestly, I don't go by the notion that strike rate's overrated, but I don't think it's the be all and end all. If you can get me a bulk of runs, I'm willing to let go of the strike rate thing. Look at who's the current number one T20I batsman?
Mohammad Rizwan.
No, it's actually
in
Babar
the Asia Cup. In the Asia Cup,
I'm talking about ranking.
Babar.
And who was the best T20I batsman in 2021? Mohammad Rizwan. Neither of them back with massive strike rates, but they get you runs. So for me, it's of course I agree. Intent is important, but
perhaps the argument from Anime Fan probably comes from the fact that even if you have a high strike rate, you can be impactful. He's looking at probably 2-3 examples. Joss Butler.
Yeah, but even Butler.
Killer Miller, David Miller, and Liam Livingston.
But even Butler, Livingston is the only one who truly goes from the word go. Butler, if you remember in the IPL even later on, there were times when he would be a little conservative and then look to make up that strike rate later on. Remember, I think, who was it?
I think it was against
Mumbai. Who was the spinner who got him? Was it Hrithik Shawkin?
I think it was Hrithik Shawkin. Yep.
And he tonked Hrithik Shawkin.
4 sixes, I guess.
He tonked him for 4 sixes, and the 5th one he was trying, he got out. But those 4 sixes, that 24 runs of 4 balls, took his strike rate from about 120 to touching 150.
Yes.
So, strike rate as a metric, I understand it's important, but don't, live and die by that one metric. I don't think there was anything wrong with Kohli's approach yesterday.
I would want to kind of agree with Varun Parvataneni. I would want to agree with this. Sometimes giving break backfires. Was Hardik the same as rhythm broke?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know.
Okay, Varun, this point is valid if Hardik does not perform in the next 2 games.
True. But again, sometimes, bigger games are different to all due respect. Hong Kong,
absolutely. But actually, Irfan Pathan had also said giving a break does not help.
Not now.
Even prior when Virat Kohli had taken a 1 month break.
Yeah, but
now we know the story, why he had to take the break.
When a break helps? 2 things. 1, if you're mentally burnt out.
Yep.
2, if you are physically burnt out, if you're reaching that red zone where what
Kohli fell in the first category.
Yes. But you also seen how Australia will very smartly rotate their pace bowling trio.
Yep.
They do it. There are ways of managing workload without letting it affect. Of course, in this case, slightly debatable, but I think let's hold our horses on that.
Because look, when Australia did not rotate their bowlers, it happened in the 4 Test series against India, they got fatigued and India won the series.
And also, you have to remember what really I think put the fear of God in the Aussie, the think tank when it came to rotation. You remember how badly affected Pat Cummins was?
Yes.
He made his debut and then I think for 3-4 years didn't play.
6 years.
Yeah, 6 years spell with no international cricket because he was fighting against everything to get back into fitness.
Back injury.
So that back injury could have been a career killer. So they realized that, look, we have 3 pacers who are really up there with the world's best. we have to preserve them.
Yes.
You can't be playing them at all time. They are not donkeys that you run them, and then in the end just put them
And
out to
all
pasture.
your three Aussie bowlers, Cummins, Stark, Hazelwood,
Have all dealt
play
with
all
injury
three
issues.
formats.
Yes, and mind you, even Stark is someone, despite the fact that he doesn't play as much franchise cricket, has dealt with injury issues.
Yes.
He has ruled himself out of IPL auctions to be available for international cricket because
Yeah, knee injury, ankle injury, hamstring,
He's-
back, shoulder.
which is of course if you're
elbow.
if you're a pacer bowling at that speed of that build,
Yes.
you're going to be injury prone.
6'6", 150 plus. That's Mitchell
So anyway,
Stark.
I think we can
left. Yeah, we can wind up.
we
and
can
tomorrow.
take leave, and tomorrow's a big day,
Big day.
must-win match for India.
Now every game is a must-win. Unfortunately, that's the nature of the Super Fours, because you will now potentially have two things. If India lose tomorrow, they are out of reckoning for the
Correct.
finals. It's the second possibility, which looks more likely,
Is that they
three
win?
teams on the same number of points,
And
with
then net
NRR
run
coming
rate comes into play.
That's probably
Oh boy!
happening.
So join us tomorrow when we're
Yep.
covering that match. Of course, we're all going to be here, and it's a big game, as we said,
It's a
must-win
big
match. We're
game,
going to be
but
there.
India have a good record against Sri Lanka.
And don't forget, of course, to keep checking out the content we put for you guys on Sports Today, Asia Cup coverage, this coverage beyond that as well. So stay tuned. Thank you so much for joining us on this edition of The Dugout. Hope you enjoyed it. If you did, don't forget, like, share, subscribe, comment. Of course, we love reading your comments. Tap the bell icon so you know when we're going live. And of course, follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and last but not least,
Vanakkam.
download the Sports Talk app.
No,
Sure.
that's your domain.
By the way, good. But bye-bye.